Today's task is to make a 4-inch cylinder with 3-inch diameter. I'm going to do that with 1 pound of clay. So the first thing, as always, is to get my bat attached. And I usually give that a spin so I can make sure that it's not wobbling all over the place. Seems correct. And there's some junk on this bat, so let me see. It looks like there's wax on this bat. Not a problem. But we want it to be clean. Okay, so I have previously prepared 1 pound balls of porcelain. These have been thoroughly wedged and pounded into a spherical shape. So now I've got a clean, dry bat, and that's the throwing part of throwing pots. So today we're going to make a 4-inch tall cylinder. It's got to be 3 inches in diameter. So I'm going to use this ruler, and I'll try to hold it in a way that you can see the honest measurement. Okay, so the first task is centering. I'll get the wheel spinning a little bit and see how far off I am. This looks really quite good. So now I'm just going to get a few drops of water on there. And again, the centering process has its own video. So I'm going to go rather fast with this, but I'm wedging on the wheel 1 time up and then back to the base condition. We'll go a 2nd time. Now, when I'm doing this centering process, I do make the wheel go pretty fast, but it's probably not full speed. So these wheels have a little bit more speed than what you oftentimes need. Now I'm bringing this back down to the base condition the 2nd time, and then just want to feel it, make sure that it's wet enough to keep going. I don't need to add water at this point because it remains slippery. So we'll go up a 3rd time. Typically this is 2 to 3 times the height that you started with. Use the heel of my thumb at a 45-degree angle right at the top to bring that right back down into the base condition. Okay, so typically this is about twice as wide as it is tall. I'll just clean this up a little bit. I like to always have a clean bat surface. You'll get some slop here and there, but no reason to be messy. So, reminder, I'm making a 4-inch tall cylinder. So now that I've got the clay on center, I'm going to open this up. The sponge gives me a few drops of water there. That allows me to very quickly and cleanly go down to the bottom of the pot. Again, if you have difficulty with seeing the depth, use your needle tool as a caliper. Just kind of push it down. I'm not going to repeat that process because I showed it once before, but find the bottom. And in this case, with a 4-inch cylinder, I'm really not necessarily going to use this for anything. So the assignment is just to achieve 4 inches. So I'm going to not worry about leaving a lot of extra thickness on the bottom, right? Because you want to pull that clay up and have the maximum chance of getting to 4 inches. But you can't have no bottom. You've got to have about a 1/4 inch, normal bottom. So we're going to open this up to 3 inches. And if you need to check what 3 inches looks like, get yourself a ruler. And now this is, the inside of it is 2 7/8, and the outside is more than 4. So this is fine. The goal is to have 3 inches on the outside diameter when you're finished. So I'll call that good. The next thing I want to do is gather this back, just to kind of point the clay upward. And after every major movement, please go back and compress that lip, heal it up, make sure that it doesn't get any cracks in it, and that it remains nice and even. Okay, also keep the inside bottom of every pot nice and dry. So again, this is an adding and subtracting water constantly oriented process. So I'll put a few drops of water in there. I have made a nice inside flat bottom, so there's a corner for me to reach. You know, you can use any finger you want. If you're more comfortable with your index finger on the inside, that's fine. I tend to throw with the middle finger only because it's the longest finger I have on either hand. So that's why I choose that finger. So now the pull, I establish a little pinch right down at the bottom, and then with my fingers locked together, I just pull that up and see the clay growing. It's one slow, continuous spiral motion around the clay, allowing it to keep going around. And you can see the spiral on the outside. It's a closely spaced spiral. So you're not trying to, if you push too hard, you'll make thin spots, and it's very difficult to overcome that. So go back and smooth out the lip again, and now we're going to do a second pull. I see just a little bit of water down there, so I'll dry that up. Keep the sponge wet, a couple drops of water on, and we will go again for the second pull. So I get about a quarter inch, or I'm sorry, an eighth of an inch of a pinch, and one slow spiral motion. And you want to make sure that you pull it as straight up as you can, and even if possible, lean it in ever so slightly. If it starts to splay out, it can get out of control and you end up with a bowl every time. So not too bad so far here. It's going more or less straight up. Okay, dry it out the inside, add a couple of drops of water to the whole thing, and we'll go in for pull number 3. And I'm really going to dig deep on this one. I want to get all that clay from the bottom up to the top where it's going to get me my 4-inch goal. Okay, so that's 3 pulls that may or may not have achieved the 4 inches. Let's see. It looks to me like it's exactly 4 inches. That dark line is about 4 1/4. That was from a previous project. So that's 4 inches. Now, just to demonstrate that there's more in it, I'm gonna pull this up another 1/2 inch. That's about as deep as I can go reaching with my finger, so it, you know, any further will be unnecessary, or I'll have to resort to other methods. But we're just going to dig as deep as we can and very gently bring that clay up as much as we can get. Stop just short of the very top so that I leave that a little bit extra fat. That gives you some strength at that outer edge, and that's a good thing. Now let's see what we got. So now we have about 4 1/2 inches with 1 pound of porcelain. So we know that can be done. The last thing I want to say on this video is a really good practice is to pre-trim this pot. On an earlier video, I cut the pot open and you could see that there remained quite a bit of clay at the bottom of the pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wooden knife and I'm going to hold it in such a way that the sharp edge is facing me and the point is down. And then I'm going to get the clay moving. My pot is spinning, and I'm going to go to, I don't know, somewhere around 3/8 of an inch from the bottom, and I'm just going to press this tool in and cut away some of that excess clay. Now, I made sure to press the tip of the knife all the way down so you can see the bat in there. And now I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm going to gently spin this, insert the needle tool just underneath that clay that I cut. And if I've done this right, I should be able to pierce that and just lift that off in one piece. If it comes off in 2 pieces or 6 pieces, that's fine. But the nice thing that you can see is that you've already got a sort of a trimmed edge down there. So if for any reason you can't or choose not to trim it any further, it still looks pretty nice. That kind of manufactured edge that you just cut off, that looked a little ragged, and this is going to look a whole lot better. Now, let's talk about how do you take the pot off of the bat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a clean dry bat, and I'm going to set that on the table next to me. And now when I want to take a pot off, it's helpful if it will just move. And a good way to get it to move is I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to put just a little bit of water on the bat right there. And then wring out my sponge. And now I'm going to take my wire, and again you kind of fold it over so that you can establish the right distance between your thumbs. I'm just going to drag underneath that water, and well, that's interesting. That wax on the wheel head is causing this to be a little different, but there's some water here. So I'm going to be able to drag that water right under, and I'll pull my right finger in so that it just nudges this over, and now it's riding on the water. So if you can just get the wire out from under that, this will be real easy to pick up. Just bring it to the edge of the bat, and I've even got some places to grab it because of that little trimming that I did, and then I just set that off on another bat. I can now make probably 7 or 8 of those and just keep putting them on this bat. I might have to spin it a little bit to fit them, but that's just all part of the process. So that is how you make a 4-inch tall cylinder out of 1 pound of clay.